Why is it taking companies like Delta so long to fix the problem?
Well, Delta in particular really got hit with the biggest blow because it affected everything from all their scheduling, and it was really that was the key. The crew scheduling software was fundamentally the problem, which was tied into Microsoft, and then certainly the CrowdStrike update there, causing all that havoc there. They just can't recover from it.
So what is
And
that?
really,
What is that platform, this scheduling platform?
yeah, it's a Windows platform that they use really to schedule for, think about it, crews. When a plane comes in, they have to make sure they have an adequate crew that's ready to respond, meet the plane, meet the passengers, get it all going. When suddenly they're so dependent, 100% dependent upon a digital solution, this software, they're in trouble when everything is down. And that's what happened. Everything was down and it just paralyzed them.
Any idea why Delta were affected so badly and perhaps these other companies, airlines weren't hit?
Well, I think a lot of it is how well a company can pivot from a digital system. They really migrated a lot of these airlines away from legacy older systems to the more modern digital systems. And Delta is no different. But the ability to now back up and go to pen and paper, writing out things, placing phone calls and emails when you can't do things digitally on a computer, that could be a havoc, especially in the Atlanta area, whereas really it's their hub. So it paralyzed them, and they didn't have enough manpower to handle it. And they're still struggling, and probably for the next 24 to 48 hours will be very telling. If they don't get this taken care of, the majority of flights and reimbursements and everything underway, it could really hurt them and do some serious damage to their brand.
Well, I think it's interesting you mentioned pen and paper. Not so long ago, we had the car dealerships also reverting to pen and paper because one of these ransomware attacks. It just shows you technology. Now, do we know who exactly will pay for this, both fixing the problem and also the lost business? Who's on the hook here?
No, that's a great question. If you really start digging in, and an answer from that would probably be the lawyers who are going to make the most money out of this ultimately. But a lot of the contracts that CrowdStrike has with their customers, and of course in line with Microsoft and pushing this out there, they're actually, I think, protected from the liability of this. And that's kind of scary. So in other words, that means they probably don't have to pay out all of these things. So who's paying for it? Good question. Number one will be the airlines. They were hit the biggest, and certainly Delta, because they're reimbursing meals and ground travel and vouchers for hotels and everything else. Customers are going to be very, very upset, and they're going to demand some reimbursement because it ruined their holidays, their travel in the summer, and everything else.
How about there's people apparently impersonating CrowdStrike and impersonating other companies, perhaps like Microsoft, and tricking people, regular computer users, into handing over their money. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, and you make a great point. Anytime there is any type of disaster, it could be a natural disaster, it could be internet disaster, communication IT, such as this case, what happens? Cyber criminals are listening carefully and using it as an opportunity. One thing they have to be careful of, in fact, the CrowdStrike CEO warned of this even, phishing email attempts, attempting to lure you in. So if you're a victim here and you want to get a reimbursement, you want to get help, you want to find out if you're affected, you might get an email that looks like it's from CrowdStrike. You click on that and it's simply a redirect to another website. And they may try to collect and gain or garnish more information, personal information about you, which then you'll be resulting in a breach of some sort if you give them that information. So be very careful before clicking on a phishing email or visiting websites. Make sure you know that it's properly vetted and you're not being fooled. And just don't be too quick to hand out that information. When people are stressed out, that's what happens. They tend to give out their credit card, their social security number, their travel plans, their home address. Pause and really double check everything. Make sure the person, if you're talking on the phone at the other end, you get their name, their contact information, check the number, go to their website, do a little bit of research to verify.
Feels like every day, Scott, there's a new phishing attempt or some new scam online. Very quickly, about 30 seconds. What's the big lesson for businesses and governments around the world through this tech outage?
We're all too dependent upon digital technology. And that's a big problem, and we're all too interconnected. Sometimes we got to go back to the basics and be willing to have a plan B so we could switch over to something manual and not be so, dependent on our smartphones, computers, and just technology as a whole.
Scott Schober, BVS, we appreciate it. Thank you, Scott.